All right, welcome everyone to the Living Well with a Blood Cancer, the 2023 virtual conference. This one-of-a-kind conference addresses the unique needs of the blood cancer community and offers the latest information, tools, and resources to help support Canadians affected by a blood cancer. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada is proud to introduce today's presentation, Blood Cancer and Spirituality. In this session, David Maginley, spiritual counselor with the QE2 Health Sciences Center in Halifax, Nova Scotia, will explore the significant role of spirituality and wellness in adapting to a blood cancer diagnosis. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Charlotte Hall-Coates, and I'm the Community Services Lead for the Atlantic region with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada. I will be the moderator of this online event. We invite you to type your questions and comments into the Q&A box of your Zoom webinar panel throughout the presentation. An LLC staff member will monitor the questions, and I will read some of them out loud at the end of the presentation. Due to the large number of participants and limited time, we may not be able to answer all questions. Also note that our speaker cannot answer specific questions about a person's health history or status. If we do not get to your question during the at the end of the presentation during the Q&A period, a community services lead will contact you in the coming days. Today's presentation will be recorded, therefore you can rewatch it again on our website. Are you looking for specific programs or resources but not sure where to find them? We are here to help. You can connect with the community services lead in your area to receive personalized assistance in finding answers to your questions and get connected to resources in your area. Reach out to us by calling toll-free 1-833-222-4884. We also invite you to visit our website, bloodcancers.ca. Our goal is to better serve the community and offer an improved experience. On our website, you will find tailored information and resources, as well as stories from blood cancer survivors and caregivers. Storytelling is a powerful tool that allows us to feel more connected to one another as we all embark on our own blood cancer experience. On our website, you will also find a video series on mindful art making presented by art therapist Stephanie Thorson. Whether you have experience creating art or not, these mindful art making videos will show you how to find calm and mindfulness while you express yourself through art. Did you know that LLS has an app where you can track your symptoms and side effects and much more? Download the free Health Manager app to better manage your blood cancer diagnosis. It includes medication reminders, meal planners, side effect trackers, plus shared caregiver access. This app is available for Apple or Android devices. So it's now time to introduce today's speaker, David Maginley. David is a spiritual counselor at the QE2 Health Sciences Center in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and is an award-winning author of Beyond Surviving: Cancer and Your Spiritual Journey. David has also survived cancer 4 times. He is ordained with the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Canada, a specialist with the Canadian Association for Spiritual Care, a member of the Association for Psychosocial Oncology, the International Association for Near-Death Studies, and is featured in the documentaries Right Here, Right Now, and When You Die. Thank you so much for being with us here today, David.
My pleasure, and thank you, Pascal, and to the Society for having me. Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad we have so many online to explore this rather mysterious and yet fundamental topic, spirituality and cancer. And because of the information that came in on from a survey that the Leukemia Society put out, we're going to focus not only on the basics of spirituality and cancer, but also on the role of mindfulness and meditation. Because let's face it, when you get a diagnosis, it sends your mind and your inner world into kind of a chaotic state, worrying, wondering, not knowing, wanting to get down to business, and yet not having a clear roadmap of what the trajectory of care is. What does chemotherapy involve? What does watch and wait mean? What does radiation feel like? What am I gonna be like throughout and at the end of this journey? How am I gonna cope? And of course, one of the main concerns people have is the burden of care upon their family, the emotional impact, and they're going to be worrying. It's huge. So let's affirm the significance and scale of this. If you're facing a blood cancer, you are doing the work. It's a situation that you never imagined you would face. You would never want it. And yet here you are doing it. You're living with cancer, and you're taking the steps to move through treatment or to live with ambiguity and wrestle with that unknown. I would assert that you're actually doing deep spiritual work right there. Brene Brown, now I love quoting her because she's such a good writer, fantastic researcher, and I like moving outside of the traditional religious or spiritual sources. She says, without exception in her research, spirituality, the belief in connection, a power greater, this was the main component of resilience. That's very significant. She found that those components manifested through having a sense of purpose in your life. So that's a good question I'd like you to think about as we explore spirituality and cancer. Where do you get your main sense of purpose and meaning in life? You may be able to identify that really quickly by saying, oh, it's my family. And that's a number one answer. And it speaks of your good heart. So well done with the project of love. We do it because of the relationships. We are who we are through our relationships. That's a foundational component of spirituality. What's another component? This is the second one that Brene Brown identified. A sense of connection to something greater than you. So for many, that's expressed through religious practice, right? Or belief in God, right? So that's a very overt and common and beautiful spiritual expression of a connection to something greater. But it doesn't need to be religious. It doesn't need to actually involve God. It can involve that which gives you a sense of place and purpose and even mission in the world. What brings your heart joy? What builds a sense of belonging and an imprint of your life upon the world? How do you matter? That's a spiritual principle. Or do you feel a great connection to nature? Even, and we have to address this in a healthy way, do you feel a profound sense of purpose and meaning through your work? That would mean it's connected to a vocation. Now, I really enjoy my work and I love what I do. I support people who have been facing cancer from diagnosis through to the end of treatment or to the end of life. I've been doing this for over 25 years. I love what I do, and it builds a great sense of purpose in me. So my work is obviously a great source of my spiritual practice. How do you bring your soul to your work? That's part of your spiritual practice. How do you bring your love, your compassion, your sense of meaning? So, a sense of belonging to others, a sense of purpose and connection to something greater. The third component of spirituality, which Brene Brown and many other researchers identify as critical for maintaining resilience in the face of a crisis, is adaptability. You're able to pivot. You're able to roll with it. Now, you know that the cancer journey ain't a straight line. It's a meandering path. There's so many unknowns, detours, sometimes dead ends where you have to reverse and take another path. There are always setbacks. I have never seen a course that ran in a straight line from beginning to end. So being able to pivot and adapt means that you can sit with ambiguity. You can allow the mystery and not know, while that doesn't destabilize you. That's a spiritual practice. So we've identified what you might even call a secular spiritual practice, right? Adaptability, connectedness, and a sense of belonging. All of these are foundational to your sense of identity in the world. Now, with regard to mindfulness, that is about paying attention to your life. And here's a good definition. You're paying attention in a particular way to this moment, to what it's like to have cancer. And you're doing it on purpose and without judgment. That's not easy. I'm gonna clarify why, and you'll know it. Because we want to be strong, because we want to keep it all together. We don't want to appear weak. We don't want to fall apart. We want to appear strong so that we don't embarrass ourselves, so that we can function, so that we can cope, and so that we can protect our family and show them we're in this 100% and we're going to do everything we can. I want to challenge that, because a robust, healthy spirituality is never about being strong. It's about being authentic. Strength is beautiful, but it only goes so far. You cannot have any aspect within a healthy spirituality that is not completely real. And so you might even say the point, the task of spirituality is not only for you to connect to meaning, to others, to a sense of something greater, but for you to be real and authentic and to know yourself as you truly are. So, a big spiritual question, and it's one we ask each other every day, is how are you? How are you? Now, you might say, hey, I'm fine. Fine, F-I-N-E, means flustered, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. You're fine. We're all fine beneath the surface these days. How are you? Know yourself as you truly are. So a spiritual practice in authenticity is to say, you know, I'm not doing well, kind of a mess, but I'm doing it, right? You're being real. And you're not asking for the other person to make you feel better. In fact, it's not helpful if they do. You're presenting to them the gift of how you actually are. And their job, if they're wise, is to receive and hold that and honor it. Not to change it, analyze it. They might dig deeper, but only if they earn your trust through the quality of their presence. That's quite a lot. It reframes the meaning of being fine or being strong. Can you do this, right? Can you be this real when you're facing what can be a life-threatening disease? Blood cancers are increasingly becoming chronic conditions that you can live with, but sometimes you know they're life-threatening. Engaging with that authenticity requires vulnerability and courage. Vulnerability and courage. So this is not easy stuff. This is the deepest homework of the soul. This is the assignment presented to us through every conversation and every encounter with someone else. Yeah. Let's come back. Here's another definition of spirituality: the way you seek and express meaning and purpose, right? Connectedness, right? So we talked about that. The way in which you awaken and come to know yourself as you truly are. This may be a surprise to you, but if the task is really to be real and to know yourself as you truly are, ultimately, the assignment is for you to not believe everything you think. Well, that's a relief. We have a thought that passes through our mind every 2 seconds or so. The stream is endless and relentless. It's easy to believe everything you think, but to step back for a moment and observe your thoughts and go, okay, I'm thinking that I don't want to go to the hospital and get another chemo treatment. I'm thinking that this is going to be a really rough road. Notice that when you observe that, you realize, okay, you're imagining what isn't here right now. And if you're having a rough time right now, even stepping back and watching your thoughts is a way to stabilize you. Even more, if you can step back and watch your feelings, you get even more stable and grounded. You don't need to believe everything you think. You don't need to be controlled by everything you feel. Well, show me a master of that. I would like to learn from them. So often when we're worked up, we understandably project our feelings out into the world and usually upon those we love, instead of present our feelings. So to be able to say, when someone says, how are you? Instead of be able to say, how do you think I am? I'm facing cancer. Instead of breaking down and crying or being swallowed by fear, to be able to breathe, take a moment, pause, breathe, and say, well, I'm kind of overwhelmed. I feel it in my body. The body keeps the score. The body will tell you how you feel. The ego is going to deceive you any time it can. It's going to want you to be fine, but the body's going to tell you the truth. So let me just ask you to pause right now, tune into your body. We're beginning the mindful part here. Tune into your body and listen to it. Where do you hold your stress? Do a quick scan. Your head, temples, your jaw, check your throat, check your chest and your breathing. Where are you holding emotional energy? Try to breathe deep, lower that diaphragm. How about your belly? Does your belly and gut twist up when you're stressed? Do your muscles get tight? Listen to your body. It will tell you the truth. In the moment, being kind and compassionate to those signals of the body. A great spiritual practice in mindfulness is to speak to the body, to slow down when you're feeling overwhelmed, to breathe and listen to the body, and then notice, okay, I'm holding it in my gut. It's all twisted up. I'm scared. Stay with it. Stay with it. Breathe into it. Allow it. Because this is the foundation of the practice. You have to trust the signals your body is sending you. Right? You have to be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up, because the lessons are never going to stop coming around. Right? It's only going to get cranked up once you've achieved one level. So the homework never ends. It's about accepting whatever you feel, whatever you think, allowing and accepting all the noise inside you without judgment, without striving or trying to be or feel or think anything different. Right? Yeah. It's going to trigger that critical voice in you, right? It says, come on, pull yourself together. Or you can do better than this. Don't be afraid. Right? Those aren't helpful. Try to practice what's called beginner's mind. Right? Assume you know nothing about all this and just make it as simple as possible. That's good. And letting go, or non-attachment. This is difficult. Faith, the core of faith, is about surrender and allowing ambiguity and letting go of control and allowing the mystery. Why is all that important? Especially when you know what you want. You want to be better. You don't want cancer. You want everyone to be fine, and you want a full, rich life where you grow really old and get into a lot of mischief. However, Were you ever in control of any of that? None of us are. Non-attachment means I can watch my experience, my entire experience. I can reflect upon my whole life, look back on it and go, wow, that's interesting. That's my life. This is my life. This is my moment. Always here and now. Most of us spend a great deal of energy avoiding ourselves on a good day. It gets even worse when you're facing a health crisis or you're really stressed and scared. These aspects, trust, patience, acceptance, non-judging, beginner's mind, let go, is about returning to this moment, the only moment there ever is, and allowing whatever to arise and be, while you remain kind to yourself and kind of observing it all, not attached to it. This is the heart of meditation. It's not an escape, but a deep dive into this moment of life. So meditation is not about just chanting a mantra and closing your eyes and breathing in a certain way. It's about fully showing up with the whole mess and being compassionate to it. I really love that word, compassion. It goes so far beyond sympathy and empathy. Compassion is at the heart of your spiritual practice. In the Buddhist tradition, the goal is to be a warrior of compassion. That sounds really great. That sounds amazing. The term is a bodhisattva. That's a warrior of compassion who picks up the sword of bodhicitta, compassion itself. One who is a warrior of compassion will not turn away or abandon any dimension of a struggle or the suffering, but is able to remain firm and calmly, deeply present. And by the quality of that presence, you change your entire experience. It's possible because we see the world as we are. We cannot see the world as it actually is. It's always filtered through our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions, our experience, our memories, our judgments. So we can only see what is within us. It's reflected back to us. Meditation, mindfulness, spiritual practice is about stepping back and watching that experience without being that experience. And that makes sense because the whole point is the experience is not essential. It keeps changing. So it's not essential to who and what you are. Does that make sense? Your thoughts are not essential to what you are. They keep flowing through every few seconds. So you're not your thoughts. And you're not your feelings. They change just as fast. What a wonderful gift to realize you don't need to believe everything you think or be controlled by everything you feel. You're not defined by your experience. You can step back and watch that. Even more, you are not your body. I know your body is undergoing a big hit with cancer. And we identify with our body and we're doing everything to build its resilience, but you're not your body. What are you then? We'll get to that. I don't want to give it away. I want to keep moving through because we got a lot to cover and we don't have much time here. Being versus doing. You're not striving, you're just being present. You're living in the present. You're moving to an intention of the quality of your presence. What keeps us stuck though in stress? These factors, you got painful thoughts, sensations, memories, emotions, and here's our reaction to it, right? You can take a screenshot of that diagram. But notice your defense mechanisms in coping. You suppress your feelings, you fight, you struggle, you avoid, run away. You focus on others' needs, right? Distraction. There's so many things to distract you. Netflix is mine, right? What's your escape? Or you ruminate. You crank it up, you spin it, you give it energy. Really stressful. And then you're exploding with that stress eventually. Or you keep busy. You're overworking, you're avoiding. Now, if you don't think you're doing any of these, please ask your partner or your spouse. They'll tell you the truth. You're trying to cope, you're trying to get through. But very few of us, and I'm still doing this homework, very few of us engage the distress directly by going deep into it and listening to it and being kind to it and feeling how it's registered in the body. And that may sound fluffy, but I want to show you what it does to you. Intention, the quality of your presence, compassion is a foundational element in many energetic treatments, and studies have been shown here. The power of compassionate intention through a practice called therapeutic touch affected the growth of bone cancer in petri dishes. It reduced the osteoblasts, the tenocytes, and the fibroblasts, which are different types of cells in the bone cancer. It shrunk those. This is just a person standing over a dish, a petri dish of the bone cancer, and then you've got petri dishes of healthy cancer, and then you've got a control group, and they're holding their hands over the dish and they're sending in love, basically, just compassionate presence. It's affecting the development and growth of cells. Here's a wonderful study showing the power of mindful, compassionate presence. So this is patients who have cancer and their partners. So the patients are in a Faraday chamber. This shields them from all electromagnetic waves, except for neutrinos that come in from space and pass right through the earth. But far away, their partners were sending for 30 minutes a meditation or a prayer or a compassion. They're sending this energy of love and consciousness to their partner. And what do you know? It causes, they were hooked up to, it's called galvanic skin response monitors. So you'll wrap it around your finger. It's measuring the electrical conductivity as well as blood pressure and oxygen saturation. They're measuring all these things. And what do you know? During the 30-minute of compassionate, focused intention, their metabolic signatures correlated. They synchronized. So galvanic skin response was the biggest one, and it synchronized over distance during that time. So this is not some fluffy pie in the sky, or I'm having a nice thought, or I'm just being kind. This is an energetic frequency of consciousness, which affects your body inside and emanates outside of your body to affect the local environment, and most significantly, those you love, because love is the connection of consciousness. Mindfulness is not a mild thing. It is profound. I am a geek, so I like diving into the research, and I want to speak to the critical mind as well, and invite you to consider these new models of your spiritual anatomy. So in Albert Leninger's Principles of Biochemistry, this is a book used in medical school, universities, and this is a medical text. He talks about photonics. Every metabolic process in the body begins not by a chemical reaction, not even by an electrical signal, but by the release of a particle of light. It spontaneously is released from the DNA and from within this other factors within the cell. It pulses out, and the frequency, meaning how fast that thing is vibrating, and the amplitude, how much power that light has. The frequency and amplitude causes a cascade effect that ripples out within the cell, initiating metabolic processes. In fact, fantastic research has connected cancer to a shift in the voltage within a cell. So this is moving to the energetic level of where consciousness and biology merge and interface. When you are generating a compassionate intention for yourself or for others, particles of light, photons, are shining out even more from your palms of your hand and your forehead. Fantastic, amazing, strange, universal. So we're talking about something more than faith in God, which is beautiful and can amplify this. We're talking about grounded connection to who and what you are, which is more than thoughts, feelings, emotions, experiences, perceptions, more than your body. So I'd like you to think of it this way. Think of a movie playing upon a screen. Now, you don't want to watch a boring movie. You want to get caught up in it. That's why we want the movie. But whatever drama plays out within that 2 hours upon the screen, whatever the characters experience, tragedies, triumphs, disasters, love stories, the screen itself is unaffected by the movie. So I'd like you to think of yourself now, as you're looking at me on your computer screen, I'd like you to think of yourself as the screen. Watch the movie. Reflect on your life. See the dramas, the characters that have come in and out. See the unfinished love story. See the dreams yet unfulfilled. See it as the 2 hours or 50, 70, 100 years, a brief flicker upon the tapestry of time. Step back and watch without judgment and even without attachment, just with compassion and curiosity. Close your eyes. Now I can't see if you're doing that. I'm going to trust you. Close your eyes. Stop looking at the screen. And I'm going to slow down now because silence is essential to this practice. I'm going to have some moments of silence, and I want you to observe the noise that comes up in your mind. Observe the noise of your feelings, observe the sensations of your body, and stay with it. Your eyes are closed. So I'm going to stay quiet for a little bit. In fact, I'm going to put on a timer. I'm going to stay quiet for about 2 minutes, right? So this will make you uncomfortable. Close your eyes and listen to your life. Notice when you get caught up in your feelings. I'm going to guide you. You're caught up in your feelings. Notice that and come back. Here we go. Okay, that was about 2 minutes. Did it feel like a really long time? Have you ever spent 2 minutes in simple full presence with yourself, intentionally observing your experience? I know people who are 90 years old and have never done that, so they've never truly encountered themselves. This is a simple and beautiful practice. You may feel it's reset you. It's put your keel deep in the water. Now, if you're familiar with sailing, you know that keel on the bottom of a sailboat, it's a counterweight that prevents the sailboat from tipping over. When the wind hits that sail, it's going to lean the boat. But even more, because of the keel and then the hand of a good captain on the rudder, you're able to use the force of the wind or the storm to move forward and create an exhilarating ride. Compassionate, mindful presence is a spiritual practice that keeps your keel deep in the water when the storm threatens to capsize you. Now, you cannot calm the waves. You cannot stop the wind, but you can adjust the sails and you can adjust the tiller. Feel the motion of the boat. Communicate, talk with your body, your life. Develop that intuitive awareness and move forward with grace. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. See if I can. There we are. Stop sharing the screen. Good. It's so much nicer to see you without the whole screen there. I want to give you some resources. The main one is this moment. Please practice mindful presence for 2 to 3 minutes a day. For those of you who want a really amplified assignment, I'd like you to sit with your partner, a friend, someone you trust. Set the timer on your phone for 3 minutes, hold each other's hands, gaze into each other's eyes, and say nothing. Even couples who have a beautiful, healthy marriage rarely do this. Your point is not to figure out what's happening in the other person, but to use them as an amplifier to crank up the material, the volume on your own stuff. So as you gaze in their eyes, your thoughts and your feelings are going to ramp up. Don't abandon any part of your experience. Just notice what's happening. And then when the timer goes off, share. Okay, this happened inside of me, and they share this, what happened inside of me. Another good resource is the book that was mentioned at the beginning. I'm going to plug that. So I wrote this several years ago. This chronicles my road with cancer 4 times over. I'm a lucky man. I had a great team, and I trust that I also had a lot of homework still to do here, so I had to remain. So it weaves my 4 stories with cancer and patient accounts with reflections on how to engage the crisis to deepen your humanity, and amplify your love, and awaken to the beauty and the mystery of who and what you are in this world. You can get it at any bookstore or through Amazon. It's Beyond Surviving Cancer into Your Spiritual Journey. I'll have some resources. They're not up yet, but they're at davidmaginley.com. You can see interviews and things that go deeper exploring this material. Finally, I just wish you as smooth a road as possible. I know the turbulence can be rough. I know it's a scary journey. Love well. Know you are well loved. Find a way to connect to that meaning in life and that sense of what gives your heart joy and vitality. And when none of that is working or none of that is present, be a warrior of compassion. I have worked with patients who are so debilitated and discouraged, and I sit with them and guide them in drinking in, just with their thought, drink in the suffering of another person with cancer. Pull it from their body into your heart and send back your compassion. So this is doing the exercise in that experiment I showed you. We're using the other person to help stabilize you in compassion instead of judgment and fear. It's very powerful. So be a warrior of compassion. You are, after all, the expert in the experience. So please trust that. Thanks, Charlotte. Do we have some questions that were sent?
We do. Thank you so much, David, for being with us here today. And thank you all so much. I do apologize. I was having internet issues. So big thank you to Pascal for jumping in last minute. So fingers crossed my internet holds up. So yeah, it's now time for a question and answer period. So if you haven't already done so, please use the question and answer box on your Zoom panel. And just a reminder, if we don't get to everyone's question, one of the community services leads will follow up with you in the coming days. So we have a few questions that have come in. So someone asked, I have great difficulty resolving the fear and guilt around possibly leaving my children. She says that they're in their teens through death, despite my deep faith. Any thoughts on that? That sort of fear of
Yes,
leaving
indeed.
others?
Yes, indeed. Thank you for asking that. That's a central and profoundly difficult question. You know that eventually we're all going to die. It's 100% statistics, but the possibility is cranked up when you have an active cancer. The guilt is a reflection, of course, an aspect of your love and your desire to keep them safe and watch over them, and you're feeling perhaps the sorrow and grief that they may anticipate. Can you imagine that that itself is a beautiful dimension of their humanity? For only a noble soul who is loved and loves is able to grieve. So it speaks to the beauty of your relationship. Well done. Second, and this is hard, this is really hard, but I'm going to put it out there because I have you all online. I want you to consider that in our dying, we are teaching the final and ultimate lessons a parent can impart to their children on how to be deeply human, on how to be awake to the gift of the ordinary moment, of how to say the four most important words when the end of life is approaching. Those words are, thank you, I love you, forgive me for anything, and then you could say goodbye, but I prefer see you on the other side. You're teaching them how not to abandon any aspect of sorrow, right? These are the hardest and ultimate lessons. It's not going to diminish the weight upon your heart with that question, but it's going to amplify your love and bring profound purpose in the end of your days. And that can be marked by great beauty. Thanks for bringing that hard question to this issue. It's a courageous thing to do.
Thank you so much, David. So we have some more questions coming in. So someone or actually we have a few people that had asked about Reiki, or even using a PEMF
Oh, yeah.
therapy mat. What are
Yeah,
your thoughts on that?
Sure. I practice therapeutic touch. I teach it, and that's similar to Reiki. Now, these are energy-based, kind of weird-looking treatments in which your like my biofield, I'm working with it and I'm interfacing with the energy field of the person. I gave a treatment to someone yesterday. They were weeping and crying, and we were working with their fear and distress. And after the counseling session, they were still worked up. So we did this, and they moved into a relaxation response of perplexing equanimity and calmness. So lots of good research showing that this stuff is real. It is present in most spiritual traditions, certainly within the Christian tradition through the laying on of hands. And this is a secular application of that. Infrared therapy has been shown to be very effective in treating even dermal cancers, skin cancers, and some deep tissue therapy. Again, we're talking about light, and that's shining from within the body, and infrared light has been shown to be very effective. So really good advances in energy medicine on both sides.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. We've had a few people ask about speaking to maybe family members, either those who are diagnosed or maybe those who are caring for someone who's diagnosed, who may not be, a very spiritual person or a religious person? How do you engage with someone who maybe is hesitant when it comes to these topics?
Hesitant. Let's talk about resistant or antagonistic, right? If they reject it, don't worry about it. Let love be your spiritual practice, because God is love, right? According to 1 John, those who love, God lives in them and they live in God. So focus on your love, and you cannot be engaging any better spiritual practice than that. Now, if the conversation goes to God and to the afterlife, or to what is the purpose and meaning of life and everything, wonderful, wrestle with those, but trust your heart.
Good words of wisdom. So someone was asking, because you touched upon sort of the fears that maybe the individual who's diagnosed with a cancer has on sort of their passing away and what that means for family members. But someone asked, how can I support my partner through cancer while I'm scared that I'm going to have to face life without them? So the fears of the caregivers, I guess.
So how do you do that? You do that sporadically, imperfectly. You bumble forward. Try to have raw conversations with them. Share your fear. You don't need to protect them from that. They're thinking about it too, right? So when you can just put it on the table, you're trusting them with that vulnerability and those hard conversations. The details of that are, like, it's good to say, what are you most afraid of? What do you find most difficult? And then say the truth. When you don't know what to say, hold their hand and just be quiet and look into their eyes and let your tears come. You don't need to protect yourself. They long for that connection and intimacy, right? That's the stuff we're fighting for. That's the heart of a deep connection. That's beautiful and shattering. And I trust the wisdom of it. So my heart goes out to you. It's really, really difficult.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So someone was asking about the effects of positive affirmations.
Right. So positive thoughts are tricky, because the key to the effectiveness of an intention is your lack of attachment to the outcome. So how do you put out a positive affirmation? How do you desire something without adding desire to it, right? How do you try and speak to the body positively? Well, it's more important to speak to it compassionately, right? Now, you can know that your fundamental nature is actually, I believe, immortal. It's not affected by thoughts, feelings, or what happens to your body. It's eternal. It's a state of direct and simple awareness. It is the I am, right? So may I encourage you, have a look at the videos of Rupert Spira. He can do a better job than me. Rupert is a profoundly beautiful spiritual teacher, lots of YouTube videos. He's well versed in the Christian faith as well as Hindu and Buddhist traditions, but he is very succinct in talking about your essential nature. So Rupert, Spira, and explore that. I hope that would be helpful.
Great, thank you so much. I'm just trying to find. Oh, I had a question and then oh, there we go. So someone's asking about specific meditation practices. So you talked a little bit about Reiki, but is there any other practices that you'd recommend? And then also, how often do you recommend sort of practicing wellfulness?
Oh, sure. Daily practice is great. If you've never done this before, start with 45 seconds of mindful presence. Okay, so actually, you can start with 10 seconds. The research of Lynn McTaggart shows that 10 seconds of mindful, compassionate, focused awareness every few hours, several times an hour, so let's say 10 seconds every 2 hours, is sufficient to actually begin reprogramming the mind, and actually lays down new neurocortical networks in the amygdala's singular cortex. We don't need to go there. You can try Tonglen, which is in the Christian tradition, redemptive suffering. So that's where you breathe in the sorrow and suffering of someone else and breathe back your compassion. You can try the witness practice called Vipanasa. I can't remember, I'm messing that up, where you just slow down and say, okay, I have my thoughts, but I'm not my thoughts. I have my feelings, I'm not my feelings. I have my body, I'm not my body. Just repeat those, watch and observe. Prayer, right? Prayer is fantastic, but prayer is at its heart communion with the divine. So instead of, you're moving from lifting your petitions to an external God to now moving inward and participating in the consciousness of God, right? Very much what Jesus did all the time. So it's heavy stuff to summarize. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. And again, thank you so much for presenting very insightful things today. So before we sign off, I would like to thank everyone for attending this year's conference. Oh, David, if you don't mind sharing the screens again, we just have some outro
Yes.
slides.
Close that chat box. That's questions. There we are.
Perfect. So, although today's presentation was the last of this conference series, we do have an upcoming webcast on December 14th, and that's going to be new treatment guidelines for chronic lymphocytic leukemia, or CLL. Next slide, please. We'd also like to thank AbbVie, AstraZeneca, BeiGene, Bristol Myers Squibb, GSK, Janssen Pharmaceutical Companies of Johnson & Johnson, Jazz Pharmaceuticals, and Kite, a Gilead company, for their support in making these conferences possible. So please remember that we are here to help. You can reach us by email or by visiting our website, bloodcancers.ca, or by giving us a call toll-free. Please note that a short survey will be sent to all participants after this presentation. If you could please take a moment to respond, it's really helpful as we plan our future events. So with that, I want to thank you all so much again for attending. Thank you, David, and I hope you all take good care of yourselves.
Take care.